Pull up a chair, come closer to the fire, listen. Do you hear that? The crackle of the wood, the whisper of the wind through the trees. It's easy to feel safe here, surrounded by friends, with the darkness held back by the light. But what if I told you the darkness isn't just out there? What if it's in your home, in your kitchen, in your bedroom? What if the veil between our world and the next is so thin, you could accidentally brush against it while making a midnight snack? We spend our lives in these familiar places, thinking we know every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the corner. Let's start in the heart of the home, the kitchen. This story comes from a man named David, a software developer who lived in a small modern apartment. He wasn't a believer, he was a man of logic, of code, of ones and zeros. Everything had an explanation until it didn't. One night, around 2 a.m., he was working late on a project and went to the kitchen for a glass of water. As he approached the doorway, he heard a sound. It was the distinct, unmistakable clatter of a metal utensil dropping onto the tiled floor. He froze, listening. He lived alone. Every door was locked. Every door was locked. He stepped into the room, his bare feet cold on the tiles, and reached for a glass. That's when he smelled it. A powerful, rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. But his coffee maker was unplugged, the carafe empty and dry on its heating plate. The paranormal doesn't care about walls. It can manifest anywhere, even on a busy city street in broad daylight. This next encounter happened to a college student named Maria. She was walking home from her part-time job one sunny afternoon. It was a route she took every day, past the same brick buildings and familiar storefronts. The sidewalk was bustling with people, students, shoppers, business people. Maria was listening to music through her headphones, lost in her own world. As she approached a crosswalk, she glanced at her own shadow, stretched long and thin on the concrete. That's when she noticed it. Another shadow, standing right beside hers. It was tall and slender, perfectly defined, the silhouette of a man wearing what looked like an old-fashioned hat. She felt a chill despite the warm air. The pedestrian signal changed and the crowd began to move. Maria stayed frozen, staring at the impossible shadow conjoined with her own. As people walked past, their bodies should have blocked the sun, disrupting the shadow. But it remained unchanged. She ran. She never walked that route again. Now we move to the most personal space of all, the bedroom. This is where we are at our most vulnerable. For a young couple, Mark and Jenna, their new home's master bedroom became a place of nightly terror. It started subtly. They would wake up in the middle of the night, feeling an intense, unexplained cold, even with the heat on. Sometimes they'd get a strange feeling of being watched. One night, Jenna woke up suddenly, her body rigid with fear. In the faint moonlight filtering through the window, she saw a dark figure standing in the corner of the room. It was tall and shapeless, a void in the darkness that was somehow darker than the surrounding shadows. She couldn't make out any features, but she knew with absolute certainty that it was watching her. She tried to scream to wake Mark, but no sound came out. She was completely paralyzed, able to do nothing but stare as an overwhelming sadness washed over her. The paralysis finally broke, and Jenna let out a choked cry, grabbing Mark's arm. He woke up instantly, and as he sat up, the figure simply dissolved, melting back into the normal shadows of the room. Mark turned on the lamp. There was nothing there. They were no longer comfortable in their own sanctuary. Sometimes the spirits that linger aren't menacing or dark. Sometimes they are just lost, forever replaying a moment from their life. This is what a family, the Millers, discovered in their 2-story suburban home. Soon after moving in, they began to experience strange things. They would hear the faint sound of a child giggling even when their own 2 sons were fast asleep. Toys would be moved from one room to another. One evening, Mrs. Miller was downstairs reading while her husband and sons were out. Suddenly, she heard a soft thud from the top of the stairs, followed by a quiet, mournful sob. There, sitting on the top step, was a little girl. She looked to be about 6 or 7 years old, wearing a simple, old-fashioned white dress. Her form was slightly transparent. Mrs. Miller could see the pattern of the wallpaper through her. The little girl was crying, her small shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She didn't seem to notice Mrs. Miller standing at the bottom of the stairs. After what felt like an eternity, the image of the little girl slowly faded, dissolving into nothingness. The Millers later did some research into the history of their home. They discovered that decades earlier, a young girl had lived there who had tragically died from an illness. What do these stories tell us? They show that the line between our world and another is not as solid as we believe. It's a fragile membrane sometimes, for reasons we can't comprehend. It tears. A man making coffee in his kitchen, a student waiting to cross the street, a couple sleeping in their bed. These are the moments when the paranormal bleeds through. It doesn't wait for a full moon. It doesn't wait for a seance. It doesn't require a haunted mansion. Think about the reactions of these people. David, the logical programmer, was forced to abandon his rigid worldview. His reality was broken by the smell of coffee and the sound of unseen hands in a drawer. Maria, the carefree student, was so terrified by a simple shadow, she changed her daily routine. Mark and Jenna found themselves sharing their most intimate space with an uninvited, silent watcher. These weren't investigators, they were just people. They were confronted with phenomena that had no earthly explanation. A shadow without a body, a sound without a source. As the fire dies down and the shadows grow longer, we are left with a question that hangs in the air like a cold mist. Are these isolated incidents, tricks of the mind, or glimpses into a reality that coexists with our own? We surround ourselves with science and logic, building a fortress of reason to keep the darkness at bay. But these stories show us the cracks in that fortress. Spirits, energies, echoes of the past are not confined to graveyards or battlefields. They are in our apartments, on our sidewalks, at the top of our stairs. Maybe the paranormal isn't para at all. Maybe it's just normal, a part of the natural world we have conditioned ourselves to ignore. We are so focused on the physical, the tangible, that we close our senses to anything that lies beyond it. But what if all it takes is a moment of quiet, a lapse in our concentration, for the veil to thin? What if these entities are constantly around us, and we only perceive them when our energy aligns with theirs? It's a chilling thought. The idea that we are walking through a world crowded with unseen spectators. So the next time you hear an unexplained noise in the middle of the night, pause before you dismiss it. The next time you feel a sudden, inexplicable chill, pay attention. When you catch a flicker in your peripheral vision, don't just turn away. Ask yourself what it could be. It might not be your imagination. It might be a message, a warning, or simply a lost soul reaching out from the other side, trying to make a connection. These encounters remind us that we are part of a much larger, much older, and much stranger universe than we can possibly imagine. We are left to wonder. Remember David, Maria, and the Miller family. Their experiences were ordinary lives interrupted by the extraordinary. And as you turn off the lights and lie down to sleep, ask yourself one final question. Are you ever truly alone? The answer might be waiting for you in the darkness,